at daycare headlines. Delta police officer who shot suspect in viral video to face murder trial. France issues evacuation advisory as Mali security worsens. Trump claims Iran near collapse, demands swift action. Now the news in detail. We'll begin from Nigeria, where Delta State Police Command has said that the policeman who shot and killed a suspect in Eferu, as captured in a viral video, will be tried for murder. The spokesperson of the command, Bright Dafe, who disclosed this during an interview this morning, said the cop, identified as ASP Nuhu Usman, had been moved to force headquarters in Abuja to face disciplinary action. And Dafe said that the officer acted unprofessionally and likened his violent action to one that could not be explained unless for a spiritual perspective.
As at 8 p.m. yesterday, going to Abuja, I believe as at this morning, they're already in the first headquarters because he will be dealt with. There is already an ongoing section of the first disciplinary committee that will handle his case. And I believe by the end of today, we will hear the outcome of that section. So it is not something we can explain. He only knows, he's the only one that can explain why he did what he did. And he will use his head to carry what he has across. The music he has started playing, like I've always been saying, he will dance to it because that guy has a right to life. Every suspect has a right to life. Nobody has the monopoly of violence. You don't just go about killing people because you are bearing firearm given to you by the government of Nigeria to protect life and property. It's not making any sense to me.
The command further stated that the police officer leading the team, ASP Nuhu Usman, in clear violation of Force Order 237 and the standard operating procedure of the Nigeria Police, discharged his firearm, leading to the death of the suspect. In South Africa, the chairperson of Parliament's Social Development Committee, Bridget Masongo, has shut down attempts by members of Parliament to quiz Minister CCC Tulashi regarding matters of maladministration in her department. Tulashi has been making headlines over irregular appointments in the department and redirected vehicle donations intended for ANC Women's League, of which she is the president. Ahead of today's meeting, Musango said the allegations have not been based on verified facts and were being sourced from those with an axe to grind.
We are inviting the Minister of Social Development to come to the committee and to give us her side of the story because, as you say rightly, this is very concerning. The part of a person employed to do one job and then doing another, and then on top of that having to give the portion, very significant portion of their salary, is very concerning. But we have to hear from the minister her side of this very concerning story.
Musango also said Tulashi will be quizzed on the possible abuse of public funds and questionable staff appointments next week. And now, France has urged nationals in Mali to leave as soon as possible following coordinated attacks at the weekend, including in the capital, Bamako. French Foreign Ministry said the security situation remains volatile and pending their departure, French citizens should stay at home, limit movement and follow instructions from local authorities. The advisory was issued after Mali's military government, led by Assimi Goïta, vowed to neutralize those responsible for weekend's attacks.
After the coordinated attacks that shook the country, taking the lives of civilians, soldiers, and Defense Minister Sadio Kamara. In this solemn speech, above all, this is a message of grief, defiance, and national unity at a moment when Mali's enemies want it divided.
Russia said on Tuesday that jihadi and separatist forces in Mali were regrouping after Moscow's forces helped thwart what it described as a coup attempt on Saturday. And now to Kenya, where the government wants all cargo entering and exiting ports of entry to undergo specialized screening to detect and prevent illicit trafficking of special nuclear and other radioactive materials. A decision by Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority has caused concerns that it will delay operations at the port of Mombasa, which is currently facing congestion and delays, and also lead to increased costs of doing business. In a recent notice to importers, exporters, and licensed cargo agents, KNRA said containerized cargo must pass through monitors stationed at strategic points such as Mombasa Port and Inland Containers Depot. While some of the port users agree that some of the services rendered by the state agencies are important, others have raised their opposition over the fragmented manner and possible delays in the clearance of cargo. Now to the north of Africa, where Libya's Tripoli Criminal Court has sentenced 4 members of a criminal gang convicted of human trafficking, abductions for ransom and torture to between 12 and 22 years in jail. The Attorney General's office said the 4 defendants were not identified by name and one of the defendants was sentenced in absentia. The Attorney General's office also explained that charges against the 4 defendants include smuggling illegal migrants from Zuwari, a coastal city west of Tripoli. At least 17 bodies believed to be migrants were recovered by a medical service center 2 weeks ago from the shores of Zuwara. You're listening to Globe File on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos. Still to come, Trump claims Iran near collapse, demands swift action.
You can listen to Adami Mogo 93.1 FM from any part of the world. Download the Adami Mogo 931 FM app from Google Play Store and Radio Garden. And follow us on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have eyewitness stories or exclusive to share, contact the Adami Mogo FM newsroom via mail at newsroom@adamimogofm.com. Or you can dial 070-634-03583. You can dial 090-319-69629. Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos, voice of the light.
Thank you for staying with us, and now to the rest of the story. U.S. President Donald Trump claims Iran is in a state of collapse and has asked Washington to lift its blockade on Iranian ports as soon as possible. His comments followed reports that efforts to end the Iran conflict were at an impasse after Tehran informed the U.S. it was figuring out its leadership situation. In a new social media post, Trump threatened Iran to better get smart soon as efforts by Washington and Tehran to end hostilities appeared at a standstill. Iran's most recent offer for resolving the 2-month war would set aside discussions of its nuclear program until the conflict was concluded and shipping disputes resolved. In the meantime, Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Wadorf has accused Tehran of stalling tactics in negotiations with Washington over the Middle East conflict. The remark was an attempt to clarify Chancellor Friedrich Merz's earlier comment that the US was being humiliated by Iran. Foreign Minister Wadorf also explained that diplomacy is needed more than ever, even as global divisions deepen and the UN struggles to assert its role. Meanwhile, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the ceasefire in Iran and Lebanon must be held through diplomatic efforts. Von der Leyen also noted that the goal is to see a permanent end to the war and the restoration of full freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz without the imposition of fees. Away from the Middle East, European Union's executive arm has accused Meta of failing to protect young children from the harms of social media. The European Commission said Meta, the company behind Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp, breached its own rules of only allowing children above 13 years of age on their platforms. EU Digital Czar Aina Verkin said terms and conditions should not be mere written statements, but rather the basis for concrete action to protect users, including children. Meta will be given the chance to defend itself since the EU findings are preliminary, but if confirmed, Meta will likely face hefty fines. To sports, where Bayern Munich's front three have made history after the trio all scored against Paris Saint-Germain on Tuesday night. Harry Kane, Michael Olise and Luis Diaz have now scored a combined 100 goals in all competitions this season. In doing so, they are the first trial ever to do so for a non-Spanish club. Kane extended his tally to 54 goals in 46 appearances this season. The Azza scored 26 times in 46 matches and only set 20 goals in 47 outings across all competitions. There was yet more history for Kane. He has scored on his 6th successive Champions League appearance so far. And finally, on entertainment, Taylor Swift has filed 3 new trademark applications with the US Patent and Trademark Office. A move a global legal expert theorizes is to protect her voice and image from potential misuse through artificial intelligence. 2 of the applications filed as soundtrack trademarks covering her voice, one of which she was saying, "Hello, it's Taylor." The 3rd application is for a visual trademark described in the filing as a photograph of Taylor Swift holding a pink guitar with a black strap and wearing a multicolored iridescent bodysuit. The filing were made on behalf of Swift's TS Rights Management, and all 3 have been approved but are currently awaiting assignment to an examining attorney. And just before we bring Glofar to an end, here's a recap of the biggest stories. We told you Delta State Police Commander said the policeman who shot and killed a suspect in Eforu, as captured in a viral video, will be tried for murder. France has urged its nationals in Mali to leave as soon as possible following coordinated attacks at the weekend, including in the capital Bamako. Finally, in the news, we told you US President Donald Trump claimed Iran is in a state of collapse and has asked Washington to lift its blockade on the ports as soon as possible. And that's Globe File. Join us at 2 o'clock for more stories on the briefing on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos.